Hey, this is Pastor Pete with Northwest Church, and this is another Things My Father Taught Me. When I was about 18 or maybe 19 years old, I remember my dad used to have a curfew for me, and that was I couldn't come home any time later than, I think it was about 11 or 11:30. Let's say it's 11 o'clock. And one night I came home just a little bit too late, after midnight actually, and everyone was already in bed, so I was creeping up the stairs to go to bed. And I remember as I was going past my father's bedroom, all I heard was, "Peter." And you can imagine my heart just stopped because I knew what time it was. And he said, "What time is it?" And I said, "It's after midnight." And he said, "We'll talk about this in the morning." And you can imagine that didn't necessarily set me up for having a good night's sleep, because I knew I was going to have a chat with my dad in the morning. And in the morning, he had asked me, "What time are you expected to be home?" And I said, 11 p.m. And he said, "What time did you get home?" And I said, it was something like 12:30 or something. And he said, "Son, I need you to do what I've asked you to do and be home by 11 o'clock at night." And at that point I had said to him, I said, "But Dad, I'm 19 years old. I'm an adult. Surely I can come home when I want. I mean, I don't need a babysitter anymore." And he said, "Son, you can do what you want when you're living in your own place and paying your own bills. But whilst you're in my house, that's what I'm asking you to do." Now, it would seem maybe you would think he was being overprotective. And that can be true sometimes. Maybe as parents we can be overprotective of our kids, and sometimes we can tend towards doing too much towards the rules of the house or the rules of life rather than the importance of relationship. Even church can sometimes be that way. I know that as a pastor. And sometimes it's easy to try and put so many rules and regulations in place because that's what will keep people on the right path. That's what will keep them doing the right thing. That's what will keep them safe. But really, it's much more important that we're putting relationship first, because relationship must supersede rules. In fact, you probably heard the phrase rules minus relationship ends up equaling rebellion. But the funny thing is, I think my dad was actually teaching me something different. It wasn't just that he wanted me to try and keep a set of rules, but he wanted me to understand that blessing is attached to the honor of the one that you're sitting under, whoever is in authority over you. In a sense, you're not just learning about the blessing that comes with by obeying the rules of the one who's in authority over you, you're also doing that with Christ as well. You see, a lot of what we do to obey Christ and to do what He's asked us to do is not because we understand it necessarily. It's not necessarily that we'll even understand it even in this lifetime, but we obey Him because we trust Him, because we have a relationship with Him. But if we don't have that relationship, and we're actually only endeavoring to try and keep a set of rules to be as Christian as possible or to be as good or as holy as possible, it's eventually going to break down. And I believe it's important. It's not that we try and do what's right and what's good because we'll do that because it'll be just enough to get us into heaven, or it'll keep us just enough in relationship with God. You know, in a sense, it's like, how much can we get away with? It's not about that. It's not about how much we can get away with. It's about how much blessing we can receive from the one that we desire to be in relationship with. And without that relationship, it's very difficult to keep the rules that He puts in place. Without that relationship, it's even very difficult to receive or even appreciate the blessing that He wants to give us. There was a story in Matthew 8 where a centurion came running up to Jesus because he had a sick child, and he said, "Master, please will you come and pray for my child? They're sick and they're dying." And Jesus said, "Yes, I'll come." And the centurion said something that Jesus' mind was blown away with. In fact, there's only 2 times in Scripture that it says that Jesus was amazed with someone's faith. And this is one of the guys. He wasn't necessarily named as a Christ follower or as a God believer or anything. He just knew that Jesus had something that he needed and he wanted. And he positioned himself under the authority of Jesus. And he said this, he said, "No, Master, you don't have to come to my child. If you just say the word, I know that my child will be healed." How do I know that? Because I'm a man under authority too. I'm under authority to someone else. And I have many other men who are under authority to me. And I know, this is a roundabout way of what he was saying, I know that blessing comes when you honor the one that you're under authority to. You see, when it came down to it, it wasn't about that the 11 p.m. curfew was the thing that was going to bring me peace, joy, protection completely. No, it was about the fact that I was going to receive my blessing from my Father when I honored his position and I honored what he asked me to do. And that's essentially what it comes down to when we're following Christ as well. Can we honor his authority in order to receive his blessing to the next level? Today I want to ask you, if you want to have that blessing, are you willing to submit yourself in places and in ways that maybe are not as comfortable to you? If you really like this video, would you do me a favor? Tell me your stories. Tell me your stories too. What is it that you have learned from your father? What is it that you have learned from either your father figures? I'd love to hear those stories. And of course, if you want to comment, if you want to like, and you want to subscribe, I would always appreciate that too. We love you guys.